We're talking about things like, who are you going to marry? What are you going to do with your life career-wise? Should you borrow to go to school or not? And if so, how much? Those are the type of decisions that determine the course of your life. In other words, those are the type of decisions that determine whether you have a crappy life or a great life. If you make the right decisions in those areas of your life, you're going to have a great life. If you make the wrong decisions, you're going to have a crappy life. People, that's the way life works. Now, as I told you last week, we normally make the most important decisions of our life between the ages of 18 to 25. The only problem is, at that age, very few of us have enough wisdom, knowledge, or understanding to make the right decisions. So we end up marrying someone that we shouldn't have. Or we choose a career that we don't like, or isn't as profitable as we would want it to be. Or we end up getting ourselves into debt by making unwise purchases or taking out loans that we shouldn't have taken out. And when that happens, what do? Well, we get mad at God. Like it's His fault that we have a crappy life. People, it's not God's fault if you have a crappy life. It's your fault. You're the one who chose to marry that person. You're the one who chose the wrong career. You're the one who took out thousands of dollars in student loans. You're the one who kept charging things to your credit card. And now you want to blame God? I don't think so. Look at Proverbs chapter 19, verse number 3. Notice what it says. People ruin their lives by their own foolishness and then are angry at the Lord. Do you see that? People ruin their own lives by making foolish decisions, and then they get mad at God like it's His fault. People, it's not His fault. Now, most people try and justify their bad decisions by saying this. Well, I didn't have enough wisdom, knowledge, or understanding at the time to make the right decision. And that's usually true. You see, most of us don't have enough wisdom, knowledge, or understanding to make the right decisions until we're about 40 years old. And by that time, we've made so many bad decisions, it's hard to climb out of the hole that we dug for ourselves. And I get that. So what's the answer? Well, that's what this series is all about. You see, it's possible to make the right decisions even if you really don't possess a lot of wisdom, knowledge, or understanding. Now, you might not believe that, but it's true. And I'll show you why it's true in just a second when we talk about core values. But let me assure you that it is true. It is possible to make the right decisions even if you don't possess much wisdom, thanks to core values. So let's talk about core values and what they are and how they work. Core values are defined as fundamental beliefs that dictate our behavior by clearly defining in our conscience the distinction between right and wrong. Now, when I say right and wrong, I don't mean right and wrong in a moral way, from a moral standpoint. I mean right and wrong in the sense of prudent or imprudent. It can mean right and wrong from a moral standpoint, but it can also mean right and wrong in the sense of prudent and imprudent. Now, if you're unfamiliar with those two words, because I used them last week and I had a person ask about that, let me explain what it is. Kind of think of it like this. Prudent means wise in the sense that you're taking into consideration how your decision is going to affect the future. In other words, you understand that what you do today will affect tomorrow. So you want to make sure that you make wise or prudent decisions. Imprudent means rash and foolish. In other words, you don't even consider the future consequences of your actions. You just do it. In fact, you wear the Nike t-shirt that says, just do it, and that's your life. All right? That's not what you want to do. You don't want to just do it. But to keep it simple, think of it like this. Prudent simply means wise, and imprudent means foolish, unwise. So, here's how core values work. Whenever we start to do something that violates our core values, we feel guilty. We feel like that if we were to do it, it would be wrong or imprudent. So something inside of us says, don't do it, it's wrong, you'll be sorry. On the other hand, if what we're thinking about doing aligns with our core values, we feel good about it. We feel like it would be the right thing to do. And when I say the right thing to do, I mean the wise thing. If I do this today, bad things are not going to happen, but good things are going to happen. So, listen to me. If your kids have the right core values instilled within them, they don't even have to be that smart to make wise decisions. Now, I know all of you have geniuses. I understand that. You know, it's kind of interesting that in the children's department, we always have parents that come and say, you know, my kid's too smart to be in this class. They need to be in the other class. Of course, the other class is always where their siblings are, or where their cousins are, or their friends are. But you need to understand something. The reason we want them to be in their class is because of our first core value. Everyone has a right to a presentation of the gospel at his or her level of understanding. We want to present the gospel at a level of their understanding. But that's not my point. That's not what I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is I found out that every child that goes to Cornerstone Fellowship is a genius. And I'm glad you feel that way. I want you to understand both of my children were geniuses. I have a granddaughter now, and I want you to understand my granddaughter is prettier than any grandchild or any grandbaby I've ever seen. And my granddaughter is smarter than all of yours. It doesn't matter that she's only 6 weeks old. I can already tell. But just in case you're one of those parents or grandparents that weren't blessed, listen to me. If your kids have the right core values instilled within them, they don't even have to be that smart. They don't have to be the sharpest knife in the drawer. And they can still make wise decisions. Why? Because core values function like an internal gauge that tells them if and when a choice they're about to make violates what they've been taught to believe. Something inside of them will say, this is wrong. Don't do it. You'll be sorry. And they'll feel guilty if they go ahead and do it. Now, I want you to understand, my parents instilled certain core values within me, and that didn't mean that I always followed them. But I want you to understand, when I did something that violated those core values, inside I always felt guilty. I didn't want my mom to find out about it. Now, Dad, that was okay. He screwed up a lot in his life, so he understood. But Mom, she was perfect. On the other hand, if the decisions you're about to make aligns with their core values, it's confirmation that their decision is the right decision. And many times what they'll do is they'll seek out counsel just to make sure. Yeah. That's why core values are so important. They enable a person to make right decisions even if they don't possess much wisdom. In other words, they enable young and immature children to make good decisions even when they don't possess much wisdom, knowledge, or understanding. So as a parent, I thank God for core values. And as a parent, you should thank God for core values. The problem is the majority of parents are not instilling core values within their children. In fact, the majority of parents don't even know what core values are and how to do that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that next week. But I just want you to understand something. Core values are so important. They're essential for people making the right decisions in order to have a great life. But here's what's scary. You can make good, wise decisions in every area of your life but one. And that one foolish decision can throw a monkey wrench into everything else. Now let me explain why that is. Life is made up of various aspects or parts. In other words, there's more to life than just making money. There's more to life than just sex, romance, and love, men. There's more to life than just raising children, women. So as you can see, life is made up of various aspects or parts. And we usually refer to those different aspects as domains. So you have the spiritual domain, which deals with your relationship with God. The marital domain, the parental domain, the vocational domain, the financial domain, the physical domain, etc. And all of these domains are interconnected. And because they're interconnected, every domain matters. In other words, every domain is important. As an example, your health affects your work because if you're sick, you can't work. If you have financial problems, it's going to affect your marriage and you're going to have marriage problems. If you have problems in your marriage, it's going to affect your children. Why? Because all of the domains of life are interconnected. Do you see that? So if you want to have a great life, then you have to make wise decisions in every area of your life, in every domain. Does that make sense? Good. If it doesn't make sense, think about it. If you have good children and you have a good job and your finances are in good shape, but you have a bad marriage, life sucks. Yeah. Or if you have a good marriage and good kids and a job that you enjoy, but you don't make much money at it, so you can't pay your bills, and the creditors are knocking at your door. People, let me tell you, life is not that good. So that's why I said you can make good, wise decisions in every area of your life but one, and that one foolish decision can throw a monkey wrench into everything else. So if you want to have a great life, then you need to have core values that cover every domain of life and not just the spiritual domain. You want to have core values that cover relationships, especially marriage, parenting, vocation, finances, health, and most important of all, your spiritual life. And if you're a parent, then you want to instill within your children core values that cover every aspect of life.